JD Martinez inked a 1 year deal with the Mets this morning. 1 year, $12 million. Uh, to the chagrin of a lot of Marlins fans, JD Martinez is a player who's been clamored for really over the last month, 2 months for the hometown veteran slugger. He will join the New York Mets. But Peter Bendix and company deciding not to pursue him, at least as full throatedly as I think a lot of people wanted them to. You're looking at now a DH spot for the Marlins that's going to be a little bit more by committee. I think that's kind of been what they've determined that they want to do all season, all spring long. You're going to see maybe Josh Bell get a few days there, maybe Jake Berger get a few days there when they want to get him off his feet. I'm sure you'll see Avisail Garcia at the DH spot every so often. And then on top of that, the Marlins have a lot of young players as well, I think, in the minors that could come up and fill that spot, whether it's Troy Johnston or Dane Myers. It also looks like potentially Trey Mancini may just make the team and fill in that spot, at least in the short term. But Peter Bendix and company deciding that the money is better to go unspent at this point. And looking at the situation that they're facing with the starting staff and the amount of uncertainty that they're going into the season with, I really can't blame them at this point. Obviously, I know a lot of people are disappointed, especially considering that JD Martinez is going to be going to a division rival in the New York Mets, the hometown kid, JD Martinez, born in Pembroke Pines. Um, so that's going to be something that's really disappointing. But I don't think I don't think it's the worst thing to happen to the Marlins this offseason. I don't think it's the worst thing to happen to the Marlins even this spring, really, when you consider the fact that all the pitching injuries that have happened, the slew of them. I think that it's really wise for the Marlins to kind of wait out their options, number one, and then parse through what they have internally in the organization. I think at some point this year you will see Troy Johnson up with the team, and getting those at bats at that DH spot, or playing first base and letting Josh Bell get some at bats at that first base spot. I think you'll see Dane Myers up with the team at some point this year, getting those reps at the DH spot or playing outfield and getting those at bats. Just keeping that DH spot open, I think really allows for them to kind of do a better job of evaluating what they have on this roster. Because I do think that ultimately this is Bendix's year one. Um, and whether we like it or not, I said it from the beginning of the offseason, and I'll say it now. I'm not sure he's convinced that this team was as good as their record last year. They made some really interesting additions. You think of Tim Anderson, you think of Vidal Brujan, who's had a pretty solid spring. Um, you think of some of those players. And ultimately, I think JD Martinez, number one, I think he wants to go to a spot where, he views that he can contend, and a spot where he can be a little bit more productive. Um, you know, Whether we want to admit it or not, there's a lot more protection in that Mets lineup than there is in that Marlins lineup at the moment between Lindor and Alonso and Nimmo and guys like that. And it's ultimately set up to be a more productive lineup, on paper, at least, than what the Miami Marlins have to offer this season. But considering the injuries to the pitching staff, Edward Cabrera, Braxton Garrett, Yuri Perez, who it's still unknown whether or not he's going to have to go through Tommy John surgery. It seems like the last we've heard, according to Craig Mish, was the team is debating surgery or rest for him. Personally, if that's even on the table, I think the surgery should just be taken at this point. He's only 21 years old. It's better to get it out of the way sooner than later. Um, but digressing, I don't think that the Marlins missing out on JD Martinez is this big earth shattering development. I think that they're going to continue to stay the course, and I think that giving themselves the options to evaluate some of the younger players who have really earned an opportunity in spring. I think you can absolutely say that in the case of Troy Johnson and Dane Myers. Those guys have really earned an opportunity to get a look at some point this season, and I think that they'll do so. And I think that that's going to be not only beneficial for the team in the short term, but in the long term as well, to kind of see, okay, who's going to be useful for us going forward. So my name is Eric Wiedeke. This has been my Take 5 on JD Martinez signing with the New York Mets, kind of spurning the Marlins, or the Marlins not really pursuing him as much as I think a lot of people wanted to. Um, you can follow me on Twitter at Eric Wiedeke. Be sure to keep looking out for these Take 5 videos on the 5 Reasons Sports Network YouTube channel and on Twitter. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you guys, and have a good one. Bye bye.